The chaos of Trump's presidency isn't just about one man's incompetence, corruption, or endless stream of lies. It's about a system that was already rotting long before he descended that tacky golden escalator. Trump didn't break the system. He exposed it, like a virus that makes an already weak immune system collapse. Trump amplified every contradiction built into American capitalism, and now the whole house of cards is teetering.
The dollar is falling. The empire is fading. But your voice is rising. Don't just watch history happen. Be part of it. Why have you checkmark subscribe to this channel for more fearless analysis from Richard Wolff and voices the mainstream media refuses to platform?
He came in with promises, jobs, revival, winning so much we'd be sick of it. But what happened? More jobs shipped overseas. More wealth funneled to billionaires. More empty slogans slapped on broken institutions. This isn't just failure. It's collapse masquerading as governance. The truth? Trump never had the power to fix the system, because the system was never designed to be fixed. It was designed to protect the rich, pacify the working class with lies, and concentrate power in fewer and fewer hands. The second he tried to promise anything real, like bringing back manufacturing or draining the swamp, he ran headfirst into the same structural brick wall that's flattened every populist president before him. The economy didn't bounce back. Inequality exploded. The forgotten man he promised uplift got left behind, again, and now. Even his own supporters are peeling away, disillusioned not just by Trump, but by the entire rotten architecture propping him up. The collapse of trust? That's the real crisis. Because trust is the only thing keeping the system afloat. Strip away the illusion, and what's left is a raw, cynical public that knows they've been lied to, used, discarded. That's not a stable foundation for power. That's a ticking time bomb. And this isn't just about Trump. Nixon faced it. Carter faced it. Every leader who tries to sell hope inside a system built for profit over people hits the same wall, because the contradictions are baked in. You can't promise economic security in a system that rewards layoffs and automation. You can't promise unity when corporate interests have hijacked democracy. You can't promise prosperity when global capitalism demands sacrifice from the bottom to fatten the top. Trump's presidency is in serious trouble, not because of one scandal or one policy or even one election, but because the cracks in the system are too wide to plaster over. And what Richard Wolff is saying is this: the crisis is the opportunity. The unraveling isn't just the end of Trump. It's the exposure of a system that can't meet the needs of the people it pretends to serve. This isn't about fixing Trump. It's about confronting the machine that made him possible. And that machine is breaking down. Fast. Donald Trump promised a revolution. He swaggered into office with the language of a populist crusader, declaring war on the political establishment and vowing to restore greatness to a country he claimed had been gutted by globalism, corruption, and decay. He looked straight into the eyes of millions of disillusioned Americans, blue-collar workers, struggling families, rural communities, and told them he was their voice. He would rebuild industry. He would create jobs. He would drain the swamp. He would challenge the system. And now, that system has swallowed him whole. According to economist Richard Wolff, the crisis engulfing Trump's presidency isn't just about bad decisions or ugly scandals. It's not just about the lies, the criminal indictments, or the endless chaos. The rot runs deeper. Trump's failure is a symptom, an inevitable consequence of structural contradictions that no leader, no matter how loud or brash, can overcome. This is not just the unraveling of a presidency. It's the exposure of a system that no longer works. From the beginning, Trump sold the fantasy that he alone could fix a broken economy by sheer force of will. But the promises were incompatible with the mechanics of modern capitalism. The American economy isn't built to support mass job creation in the way Trump envisioned. It's built to serve shareholders, to maximize profits, to outsource labor, and to concentrate wealth at the top. The reality? Jobs didn't come roaring back. Wages didn't surge. Infrastructure wasn't rebuilt. What did happen was more tax cuts for billionaires, more deregulation, and more political theater. Wolff makes it clear. Capitalism today isn't equipped to deliver broad-based economic revival. It's not designed to uplift the working class. Trump's bold claims were fundamentally out of step with a system that rewards capital over labor, speculation over stability, and multinational power over national investment. The economy may have been growing on paper, but that growth was uneven, unstable, and increasingly hollow for everyday Americans. And when promises collide with reality, when people see that their lives aren't improving, that the rich keep getting richer while they're drowning in bills and insecurity, that's when trust begins to disintegrate. Trust, the most fragile and precious currency in politics. Once it's broken, governance becomes nearly impossible. That's where we are now. Trump's presidency is in free fall because the illusion has shattered. His base, the very people he vowed to uplift, are seeing the cracks. They're seeing that slogans don't pay the rent, that bluster doesn't fill prescription bottles, that scapegoating immigrants or stoking culture wars doesn't change the fact that corporate power is devouring their livelihoods. Wolff argues that the real problem is structural. The laws are written by and for corporate interests. Public resources are funneled into private hands. Political influence is auctioned off to the highest bidder. And Trump, despite all his anti-establishment rhetoric, hasn't challenged this system. He's been its willing servant. His tax cuts, his appointments, his policies all serve the very elite he pretended to fight. The game hasn't changed. If anything, it's gotten worse. And here's the brutal truth. This isn't just about Trump. He's not the first to promise change and then fold under pressure. Wolff draws a direct line to Nixon, to Carter, to others who talk big but couldn't overcome the built-in contradictions of political economy. These cycles repeat themselves because the foundation is broken. You can slap new faces on the facade, but if the house is collapsing from within, no amount of charisma or spin can stop it. Look at the parallels. Nixon ran as a law and order candidate, only to resign in disgrace. Carter tried to reform Washington, but was buried by economic malaise. Now Trump, elected as a populist outsider, is flailing under the weight of economic dysfunction and political illegitimacy. The pattern is clear. Leaders who confront systemic crises without systemic solutions are consumed by them. And let's be clear, this failure isn't confined to America's borders. The contradictions of capitalism ripple outward. Military interventions justified by false promises. Trade deals that enrich corporations while hollowing out communities. A foreign policy that serves the interests of empire while neglecting human needs at home. The system is global, and its consequences are universal. That's why this isn't just about Trump's collapse. It's about opportunity. A crisis, as Wolff puts it, can be a gateway to something better. If the energy of disillusionment is channeled into collective action. Right now, millions of Americans are angry, exhausted, and disoriented. But that energy doesn't have to fade into cynicism. It can become the spark for transformation. The key is to move beyond the myth of the savior. Trump claimed he alone could fix it. He couldn't. No one person can. What's needed is a movement, a grassroots, bottom-up demand for structural reform that prioritizes people over profits. That means rewriting the rules of the economy. It means breaking the stranglehold of corporate lobbyists. It means building institutions that actually serve the public good. And yes, that means hard work. It means organizing. It means voting. It means pushing elected officials, left, right, or center, to answer not to donors, but to communities. It means understanding that slogans like "Make America Great Again" are empty unless they're backed by policies that challenge inequality and uplift the many, not the few. Because here's the truth no one in the Trump camp wants to say out loud. MAGA was never a movement. It was a brand, a distraction, a show. And now that show is collapsing under the weight of its own contradictions. You can't build trust on lies. You can't rebuild a country with sound bites. And you can't solve systemic problems with authoritarian posturing and late-night tweets. Trump's presidency is falling apart not just because of who he is, but because of what he represents, a desperate attempt to patch a broken system with nationalism, nostalgia, and noise. Wolff's analysis doesn't just critique Trump. It exposes the failures of a system that feeds inequality, protects the elite, and leaves the rest to fight over scraps. So what comes next? That depends on us. If we let this moment pass, if we surrender despair, then the system will keep grinding on, and another Trump will rise in his place. But if we channel our disillusionment into action, if we organize, protest, legislate, and demand better, we can begin to rebuild something real. The choice isn't between Trump and Biden, red and blue, left and right. The choice is between continuing a system that benefits the few or building one that serves the many. It's between superficial leadership and structural reform, between empty promises and collective empowerment. This is our opening. Trump's presidency is not just in trouble. It is a warning sign, a flashing red light that the old ways are collapsing. And in that collapse, there's a chance, just a chance, to build something new. Let's not waste it. Subscribe now and share this video if you're done with empty slogans and ready to fight for systemic change. Support independent media that speaks truth to power. Join the movement. Speak out. Organize. Vote. Because the only thing more dangerous than a crumbling presidency is a silent, disengaged public. Let's rise. This isn't about partisan politics anymore. It's not just Trump. It's not just Republicans. The system is failing, period. Trump just put the rod on full display. He promised to be the wrecking ball that would smash the establishment. But what did he really smash? Working people's hopes, the dignity of public discourse, the basic trust in government to function, let alone serve the people. Wolff's warning is crystal clear. When leaders ride waves of disillusionment without addressing the causes of that disillusionment, collapse is inevitable. You can't lie your way out of structural failure. And that's exactly what Trump tried to do. Every lie, every deflection, every rally chant, it was all smoke designed to cover the fact that the emperor had no clothes, no plan, no solutions, just more corporate welfare and cultural scapegoating. And now, the crowd is catching on. Millions of Americans are beginning to realize that their suffering isn't accidental. It's systemic. It's built into the way capitalism currently operates, concentrating wealth at the top, while throwing scraps to the bottom and calling it freedom. That system depends on distraction, on division, on telling people that the real enemy is their neighbor, not the billionaire who just offshored their job or lobbied to kill their health care. Wolff drives the point home. Trump didn't break the system. He exposed it. He amplified its contradictions. His presidency became a hyperactive, Twitter-fueled microcosm of everything that's gone wrong with American politics. Corporate capture, empty populism, and total disinterest in long-term governance. And now it's all crashing down. The erosion of trust is more than a political crisis. It's a legitimacy crisis. People don't believe the government works for them anymore. And they're right. When laws are written by lobbyists, when the wealthiest companies pay zero in taxes, when billionaires fund both sides of the aisle, it's not a democracy. It's a shell. And that shell is cracking. Even the base that once chanted, "Drain the swamp," is starting to notice that the swamp only got deeper. Trump didn't end corruption. He embraced it, rebranded it, and sold it as strength. The tax code? A gift to the rich. Deregulation? A green light for environmental destruction and corporate abuse. Healthcare? Still a disaster. Wages? Stagnant. Infrastructure? Still crumbling. This presidency has become a masterclass in how not to govern. And yet, Trump still insists he's the solution, not the problem. But here's the truth Wolff refuses to let slide. No amount of showmanship, no flood of social media rants can cover up the fact that this presidency is rotting from the inside out because it was built on a foundation of systemic failure. What Wolff's analysis gives us is perspective. Historical, economic, political perspective. This has happened before. When the system stops delivering for the people, when inequality reaches obscene levels, when leadership collapses under the weight of its own contradictions, societies shift. Sometimes slowly, sometimes violently, but they shift. Look at the past. The Great Depression didn't just break people. It forced change. It birthed Social Security, labor protections, public works programs. Not because a president waved a wand, but because collective pressure forced the system to respond. Civil rights didn't happen because one leader had a change of heart. It happened because millions organized, marched, demanded, and refused to be ignored. That's what Wolff is calling for now. Not another savior. Not another billionaire who pretends to be a populist. But us. Collective action. Pressure from below. Structural reform that goes far deeper than any campaign slogan. Because let's not kid ourselves. Even if Trump collapses completely, the conditions that gave rise to him are still here. The inequality, the political alienation, the corporate control. Those are the breeding ground for authoritarianism, for demagogues, for fake populists who sell nationalism while handing the economy to Wall Street. And if we don't address those root causes, then someone worse than Trump will come along. Smarter, slicker, more disciplined. Trump is a disaster, but he's also a warning flare. Proof that when people are desperate and lied to, they'll follow anyone who sounds like they care. So what do? We take the disillusionment and turn it outward. We name the real enemies: unchecked corporate power, rigged economic rules, broken democratic institutions. We organize not just for elections, but for real change at every level. Labor movements, tenant unions, climate justice, voting rights. These aren't side issues. They are the core of rebuilding legitimacy. Wolff's diagnosis isn't just critical, it's urgent. He's telling us that the next phase of politics in America won't be defined by personalities. It'll be defined by whether or not we finally confront the contradictions that leaders like Trump only made worse. Do we want a country that works for all, or one that continues to enrich the few while silencing the rest? Because let's be brutally honest, if Trump had actually taken on the system, if he had really gone after pharmaceutical monopolies or Wall Street or corrupt lobbying, he might have changed the game. But he didn't. He played the game. He profited from it. And now the con is coming apart at the seams. This is the moment when we decide whether to retreat into cynicism or fight for transformation. If you're watching this and thinking, nothing will ever change, that's exactly what the system wants. Apathy is profitable. Disillusionment is manageable. But activism, solidarity, structural demands, that's where the real threat lies for the people in power. So yes, Trump's presidency is in serious trouble. But let's stop looking at it like a TV show falling apart in the ratings. It's more than that. It's the symptom of a failed system, a broken promise, a collapsing myth. The question now is what we do with that collapse. Wolff lays out a vision, not just a critique, but a possibility. We need a politics that's not afraid to name capitalism's contradictions, that understands inequality isn't a glitch, it's a design, that sees through billionaire saviors and demands collective power instead. It's time to stop chasing personalities and start building power. The kind of power that rewrites the economy, reclaims democracy, and restores dignity to working people who've been lied to for too long. We've tried the strong man. We've tried the reality show. We've tried pretending that slogans can fix structural rot. It didn't work. It never works. Now it's time to build, from the ground up, with honesty, with solidarity, with vision, because this crisis, as devastating as it is, holds a truth we can't ignore. Nothing changes until we demand it. Trump's presidency is not just spiraling. It's exposing every brittle, rotting beam in the American political structure. And still, what do we get from his corner? Denials, deflections, delusions. He rants about witch hunts while the economy continues to fail working families. He throws tantrums on social media while food insecurity climbs. He paints himself as a victim while entire communities go unheard, unseen, and unserved. And yet, this isn't about Trump the man anymore. It's about what he represents. It's about the broken machine that allowed someone like him to rise in the first place. A machine fueled by inequality, corporate power, and voter alienation. Richard Wolff's analysis cuts through the noise. He doesn't care about palace gossip or political theater. He's focused on the structure, the bones, the system itself. Because here's the bitter truth. America was on fire long before Trump walked down that golden escalator. And what Trump did, what he continues to do, is pour gasoline on the flames while selling the smoke as some kind of cleansing purge. He pretended to fight the establishment while feeding it. He railed against elites while governing for them. Let's look at the economy, because that's where the betrayal is loudest. Trump promised a revival. He promised a return of factories, good union jobs, higher wages. Instead, workers got gig jobs. They got tax cuts for the ultra-wealthy. They got corporate stock buybacks while they scrambled to afford groceries. And when people asked questions, Trump gave them distractions. It's the immigrants. It's China. It's the Democrats. Anything but the truth. That the economy isn't broken, it's rigged. And he's not fixing it, he's maintaining it. This is what Wolff drives home again and again. You can't solve systemic problems with superficial leadership. Trump never understood the system he was supposed to reform. Or worse, he did understand it and used that knowledge to enrich himself and his allies while the country fell deeper into crisis. It's not an accident that the wealth gap exploded under his watch. It's not a mistake that health care stayed broken. These aren't unfortunate side effects. They're the result of conscious choices, structural choices. And that's the part that too many people still miss. It's not about how loud or brash or unfiltered Trump is. It's about what his presidency has revealed. That the system isn't built to work for the average person. That it's built to protect the top, pacify the middle, and abandon the rest. And let's talk about political legitimacy. Because that's what's really crumbling. Trump didn't just erode trust. He obliterated it. He turned every institution into a political enemy. He convinced his base that every fact check is fake, that every court ruling is rigged, that every journalist is a traitor. That's not populism. That's authoritarianism in disguise. It's a strategy that thrives on confusion and collapse. The more broken the system, the more he can claim to be its only savior. But people are waking up. That's the shift Wolff sees. The gap between rhetoric and reality is widening. People are feeling the betrayal in their paychecks, in their rent payments, in their crumbling schools and unaffordable health care. And once that trust is broken, once the illusion shatters, it doesn't come back. That's why Trump presidency is in serious, irreversible trouble. Not just legally, not just politically, but fundamentally. The mask is off. The mythology is collapsing. And beneath it lies a cold, cynical truth. Trump was never here to fix the system. He was here to exploit its collapse, for attention, for profit, for ego. But here's where Wolff refuses to let the story end. Yes, we're in crisis. Yes, the presidency is unraveling. But this is also an opening, a moment of clarity, a window for change. When systems break, people rise. That's the lesson of history. From labor uprisings to civil rights to economic reforms, real change comes when people are pushed to the edge and decide not to fall, but to fight. This is that edge. So the question is, what now? Do we sit back and watch the chaos unfold like another season of reality TV? Or do we step in? Do we organize? Do we use this moment to demand more, not just from politicians, but from the system itself? Because we can build something better, something real, but not with slogans, not with strong men, and definitely not with Trump. If you're ready to move beyond the lies, the slogans, and the theater, share this message. Subscribe. Speak up. Don't let this crisis pass without meaning. Trump's fall isn't the end. It's the beginning of something bigger. If we have the courage to act, the system won't change itself. But together, we can force it to.